Number 2. You see, though, nothing matters to me. I could feel pain, for instance. If anyone had struck me, it would have hurt me. It was the same morally. If anything very pathetic happened, I should have felt pity just as I used to in the old days when there were things in my life that did matter to me. I had felt pity that evening. I should have I should have certainly helped a child. Why then had I not helped the little girl? Because an idea occurred to me at that time. When she was calling me and pulling me at me, a question suddenly arose before me, and I could not settle it. The question was an idle one, but I was vexed. I was vexed at the reflection that if I were going to make an end of myself that night, nothing in life ought to have mattered to me. Why is it that all at once I did not feel that nothing mattered, and was sorry for the little girl? I remember that I was very sorry for her, so much so that I felt a strange pang, quite incongruous in my position. Really, I do not know better how to convey my fleeting sensation at that moment, but the sensation persisted at home when I was sitting at the table. I was very much irritated, as I had not been for a long time past. One reflection followed another. I saw clearly that so long as I was still a human being, not nothingness, I was alive, and so could suffer, be angry, and feel shame at my actions. So be it. But if I am going to kill myself in 2 hours, say, what is the little girl to me, and what have I to do with the shame or with anything else in the world? I shall turn into nothing, absolutely nothing. And can it really be true that the consciousness that I shall completely cease to exist immediately, and so everything else will cease to exist, does not in the least affect my feelings of pity for the child, nor the feeling of shame after a contemptible action? I stamped and shouted at the unhappy child, as though to say, not only I feel no pity, but even if I behave inhumanely and contemptibly, I am free to, for in another 2 hours everything will be extinguished. Do you believe that that was why I shouted that? I am almost convinced of it now. It seemed clear to me that life and the world somehow depended upon me now. I may say that the world now seemed created for me alone. If I shot myself, the world would cease to be, at least for me. I say nothing of its being likely that nothing will exist for anyone when I am gone, and that as soon as my consciousness is extinguished, the whole world will vanish too, and become a void like a phantom, as a mere appurtenance to my consciousness. For possibly all this world and all these people are only me myself. I remember that as I sat and reflected, I turned all these new questions, and that swarmed one after another quite the other way, and thought of something quite new. For instance, a strange reflection suddenly occurred to me that if I had lived before on the moon or on Mars, there had committed the most disgraceful and dishonorable action, and had there been put to such shame and ignominy as one can only conceive and realize in dreams, in nightmares, and if, finding myself afterwards on earth, I were able to retain the memory of what I had done on the other planet, and at the same time knew that I should never, under any circumstances, return there, then looking from the earth to the moon, should I care or not? Should I feel shame for that action or not? These were idle and superfluous questions, for the revolver was already lying before me, and I knew in every fibre of my being that it would happen for certain, but they excited me, and I raged. I could not die now without first having settled something. In short, the child had saved me, for I put off my pistol shot for the sake of these questions. Meanwhile, the clamour had begun to subside in the captain's room. They had finished their game and were settling down to sleep, and meanwhile were grumbling and languidly winding up their quarrels. At that point I suddenly fell asleep in my chair at the table, a thing which had never happened to me before. I dropped asleep quite unawares. Dreams, as we all know, are very queer things. Some part are presented with appalling vividness, with details worked up with elaborate finish of jewelry, while others one gallops through as if they were without noticing them at all, as, for instance, through space and time. Dreams seem to be spurred on not by reason, but by desire, not by the head, but by the heart. And yet, what complicated tricks my reason has played sometimes in dreams. What utterly incomprehensible things happened to it. My brother died 5 years ago, for instance. I sometimes dream of him. He takes part in my affairs. We are very much interested. And yet all through my dreams I quite know and remember that my brother is dead and buried. How is it that I am not surprised that, though he is dead, he is here beside me and working with me? Why is it that my reason fully accepts it? But enough. I will begin about my dreams. Yes, I dreamed a dream, my dreams of the 3rd of November. They tease me now, telling me it was only a dream, but it does not matter whether it was a dream or reality. If the dream made known to me the truth, if once one has recognized the truth and seen it, you know that it is the truth, and that there is no other, and there cannot be, whether you are asleep or awake. Let it be a dream, so be it. But that real life of which you make so much, I had meant to extinguish by suicide. And my dream, oh, it revealed to me a different life, renewed, grand and full of power. Listen.